Our guest this episode is someone I met working the Veeam software booth at tech trade shows over the years, and his name is Adam Cass. He's a Veeam certified engineer and architect, and one of the most memorable personalities you'll ever meet. He is a master at human connection and likability. Adam drips with authenticity and is looked up to for his ability to engage and command a crowd. So here to grace us with his presence is the original fly engineer, Adam Cass. Adam, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the Engaging Personalities Podcast. I'm Anders Belanger, founder and CEO of Engagify, where we're on a mission to rehumanize business through engagement. We believe that we can all be more successful if we can command attention and deepen connection. So stick around to the end of the show and we'll reveal how you can be our next guest on a future episode. So let's get ready to engage.
Hello, everybody. Pleasure meeting everybody, and thank you for having me.
All right. Well, let's start the start. What got you into technology and becoming, a systems engineer in the first place? Like, just how did you fall into that? Because I think when people meet you, they may not think systems engineer, right?
Yeah, it's a very ironic thing. So I liked working on cars. I liked working on cars a lot, but I hate getting dirty. I hated it. Like, oh my God, the grime and the grit underneath my fingernails. I'm like, oh my goodness. So being in school, somebody said, hey, put together a computer. That's just something you do. See if you can put these things together. I'm like, it's pretty cool. Like, and I was like, oh, I kind of like doing it. So it just started to progress and progress and progress. And then I found it was lucrative, that I didn't have to be necessarily in the school for a long time. So I just kind of gravitated towards more tech stuff, especially I'd be the only person around in tech. Like everybody had phones and stuff. So got to be something I just kind of grew up in. And nobody was doing it around me. So it became something that's like, okay, I'm gonna keep down this path and see where it takes me. And brought me here.
There we go. All right, we're up to date. Excellent.
Yeah, that's what I tells you.
So I did introduce you, and you used the hashtag on LinkedIn quite a bit of fly engineer. Now, as someone who's seen you, probably that makes sense. But we're on video, and people are listening to this. So maybe could you just explain where that comes from and how you came about?
Where that came from is like most of the time being the only African American that I would see in IT. It would always be a idea of conformity. That you have to articulate yourself a certain way, you have to present yourself a certain way, and that's what it was. And I noticed that throughout my career, I'm like, I'm the only one here. So why not just give me yeah, I listen to hip hop music. I care about shoes and clothes. I wear a hat just because it matches my shoes and not because it's my name. Like I say at the end of my R's. Like those things I couldn't get rid of, and I felt comfortable with myself. So with it being something being more comfortable, I started to kind of develop this brand. And the brand got to be that, and I needed a name for it. And I always was flying. I always traveling so much. So I coined the phrase fly engineer because again, it's derivative of hip hop culture, it's derivative of my personality, but also it derives from what I enjoy doing about working for Veeam is that I get to travel everywhere, I get to be everywhere, be in different spaces, meet different people, and just have these type of interactions. So that is where the whole fly engineer concept and
I like how it's
came from.
twofold. It's twofold because I was thinking in the hip hop sense, fly engineer, and how you dress and everything. But then, the travel piece, it didn't occur to me for that piece. So let's dig into that a little bit because I love the fact, and it takes courage to do this, right? To not conform, that you leaned into who you were, who you are, right? And embraced it, and basically, the ownership, you labeled the ownership of that. And I think if, we're talking, in personal branding side of things, like it's brilliant. And so, that again, when I say you drip authenticity, that's what it's about. Right. And I feel like More people need to have that courage to be themselves more. What would you say to people like that? That um, to lean into who they are.
It really is about figuring out who you are first. Like figuring out that what are the things I enjoy? What are the things that make me smile? What are the things that just kind of lights me up? Because then you can express it easily. It doesn't come off as a persona. It doesn't come off as something you just built. And also recognizing that people are people. Like I need to know your background. I need to know because those things influence how you think. And then we start to meet in the middle about a bunch of things because we look at people at a human level. It's like, hey, I would ask people a lot of times, like, what do you eat with spaghetti? And the thing is, it's such a nuanced thing, like of what do you eat perspective, but that's a cultural thing. So
Mhm.
learning those things about yourself is the first order of business. Acknowledging that people are people and try to connect on a human level. Like then you start to acknowledge that, hey, this may be the perception when you see me, which is perfectly fine, but allow me to come into your space and share with who I am. Because that's a value whoever you are, there's a value to who you are because you have a different perspective, a different opinion, a different lifestyle, a different set of experiences that could give me insight. So
Mhm.
that's a long drawn out way to say figure out
Well,
yourself and then to work hard.
yeah. Well, but I what you said does resonate with me, and I think resonates with the listeners. And also, there's just this piece of connecting on the human level. I think you do such a good job at that. Whether there are differences or not, that how do you eat spaghetti? Like you
Hmm.
just break down those things. Yeah, we're going to consume pasta probably one way or another. Hey,
We're
well,
gonna
we're all
Yep.
human. There you go.
Yep. We're gonna
Right.
consume pasta. Yep.
And I think one of your superpower, well, you have many superpowers in my opinion, but one of them too is just being able to make a lot of the technology that you talk about relatable, and it's almost kind of in that same vein that you're just bringing
Mhm.
things down to make it relatable. What is your philosophy behind that? Is there something that you try to do consciously, or has this come to naturally?
This is a conscious effort. The reason why it's a conscious effort is because none of my family know what I do for a living. Like so, my kid doesn't know what I do for a living. So expressing to them, like if I can't explain it to my mama, if I can't explain it to my siblings, if I can't explain it to my son, like then I don't understand it. Then I don't understand it a lot. And the thing I start seeing more and more, especially in technology, is that there's so many acronyms, so many catchphrases, so many things, and it conflates and contorts what people are trying to understand. And all you really want people to do is to understand how technology can benefit you in some way and can make your life easier. And keeping it that basic.
Mhm.
That's my philosophy on it all. But it's definitely a conscious effort.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, just keeping it benefit oriented, like that is what I do at trade shows, and we're a
Mhm.
tag team. For people who don't
Exactly.
know,
Yep.
at a Veeam booth when Adam's working, I will gather a crowd of people and make a case for them
Hmm.
to come deeper into the booth and have an experience. So they come
Hmm.
in, and then Adam takes over and he goes down the technical road. But again, in a consumable way, but in
Yep.
greater detail than what I was doing because I was super high level, and then Adam comes in and really knocks
And
him
even
down.
the beauty of that is like that the energies are matched because it's exciting to see you build that energy up around a topic. Just build that energy up and see the engagement because people are like, oh my goodness, it's something I can pay attention to. Whether it's something that seems trivial, it's like I can get something from it. So that transference of energy is a good thing, especially when you see people out and about, when you see people that you admire, like absorb that energy and just kind of take it in and digest it because it'll feed you, it'll keep you going.
What you just said, it reminds me a little bit of what actors do. in rehearsal process, right? Where sometimes the director will give them a little bit of a suggestion, right? Like
Mhm.
maybe they give them an animal, or they give them, just a feeling, or, or an avatar of some sort, right? To
Mhm.
try on. And then they might rehearse it really big and it's over the top, but that
Mhm.
idea that that little piece sticks around, right? And it
Mhm.
adds this extra, maybe, something you can't quite put your finger on, but it adds texture, and it's that. So you're right, everyone you meet, there's the different energy coming off, and
Mhm.
there's kind of things you can learn, what to do or what not to do in that, in many cases too.
Absolutely. And that's what it definitely comes down to. And always be learning. Always be learning. Always know not being the smart guy is the best thing ever in life, because then I can always get something. Whether in one way, shape, or form, you're gonna get something if you're always just be open to everything. Just be at least open for it. You can not like it. Trust me, you can not like it, of course, but just be open to it.
So tell me, Adam, because I think you're just talking about learning, but I think you do a bit of mentoring as well, at Veeam.
Yeah.
Is that right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It caught me off guard all the way, because I'm just trying to establish my brand, and be a good engineer here at the company. But an engineer hit me up on Teams. So it's like, hey man, I see you doing what you're doing, and how do you do it? I'm like, who, me? Like, this guy? You can't mean me. And the thing is, it just got to be such a good conversation, because they are younger than me. They are African American. They are like, they have those things. And I remember being in a position that I've never been feeling like that, where you don't know how much of yourself to give. You don't know how much of yourself to show that people will feel that type of way. And it's like, let them. It's okay. Like,
Yeah.
embrace all those things, because guess what? Who you are specifically is going to shine through, because you get a chance to cut out all that foolishness. You get a chance to say, okay, I know this is what your perception is, but let me give you who I am as Adam. Because
Mhm.
then it starts to get good. Then you're like, that guy, I know is specifically why he does this, and it's why I gravitate towards. So the mentoring this is it's so rewarding. I ain't gonna lie. It makes me feel so good, but it also keeps me on point, and it keeps me learning, and it keeps me trying to get better, because I know now people are looking at me. Like, I got people that actually look towards me for that type of guidance. So I try to stay on point with it. But that's probably one of the best gifts Veeam has gave me, is being able to mentor other engineers and people like me.
Yeah, I mean, it's so nice that, and one question I want to ask on that too, just before I
Uh-huh.
say what I was going to say was, is that structured or completely unstructured, in the sense that they came to you and you started doing it, or did the company kind of sponsor that, or kind of give structure to it?
It was solely organic. It was solely organic. It came across on the first one came across on Teams message. And the second one came across from a all hands Veeam event that I was presenting something. I don't even remember what I was presenting. It said, like, I came in my normal uniform, hat, jeans, Jordans, and that was my normal uniform. And I talk like I'm talking to you, like
Yeah.
we're having a conversation, because I want you to know this is coming from my heart. This is what I'm talking about, and that kind of was a breath of fresh air. So it was unstructured. Then it became something structured. So we have other programs within Veeam now that I'm a part of, that allow that mentorship, that allow that the ability to be able to say, hey, let me get a one-on-one with a person that I'm looking up to, and ask you the questions that I care about. So a little bit of both to ask the question.
Yeah. And what you said there too, hidden in that answer as well, was, just that conversational style. And I think that's one thing that really struck me the first time I saw you. And I think it might have been like an AWS reInvent or something like
Yep,
that.
yep,
And
yep.
and I've said this to you before, but I always like, it is, when you do something different that present in a different way, say a different phrase that you never heard before. Whenever you contrast with everyone else, you're going to stand out. You're going to be remembered. And now the phrase that I remember you saying is like, and it was about this, like, hey, if this happens to you, you have permission to come up and punch me in the face. Like,
Yeah.
because you were just standing behind the Veeam product with such,
Hmm.
emphasis and just such certainty
Hmm.
that you were giving permission for people to assault you. And it was just like,
Yes, yes.
and it sounds funny, but it was kind of like, wow, man, that guy is serious. But that's what came across, is that, you were just coming from it at a different angle, a different way. And it was,
Yep.
and
And
so go
the
ahead.
cool
Yeah. Do
thing
you want?
is, especially with speaking to that, it's like if I didn't believe in the product, and this is going to sound so pitchy and so salesy, but but if I didn't believe in the product, I would not allow that at all. And but I also know this comes to acknowledging what people's perception are, because I'm a bigger guy. So the first thing people think is, if this big guy's gonna let me punch him before, he must really mean this. And that's the idea I have in my head. It's like, oh, you may perceive this when you see me. And I'm like, okay, that's great. But let's kind of play on that a little bit.
Mhm.
Let's kind of accept it, and let's dive a little deeper into that. And then you get like you were saying, people get the chance to relate on a more human level, and we go from there.
Yeah. And you, again, the things that you say just jog my memory of our interactions and watching you work. And what you just said right there, like, play on that. You come across with a sense of play, right? Always
Hmm.
a smile on your face,
Hmm.
always friendly, open, warm. And
Hmm.
I think that's part of why people are drawn to you, and the likability is so high, is, that you just want to have some fun with some people.
Hmm.
And at the same time, they're going to learn about, technology and a solution. But I think that goes a long way
Yeah.
in connecting with people. Have you always been like this, Adam, or is that something that you've also consciously cultivated?
That was something I cultivated over time. And because I believe it or not, I was a really shy kid. I didn't talk.
Come on, come on.
like, like would not talk, would not like say a word. So it was as I got older and I started to realize I could just say quick one-liners. Like if somebody said something to pop up in my head real quick, and I just say it. And I would get a reaction. So I was like, oh, like this is a thing. And this is like I'm maybe 12 or 13 when I'm noticing this stuff. But then I said, I should keep doing this. And so it's like, oh, so you start to develop that confidence in yourself. And once as I got older, the confidence got stronger, and I got more comfortable with people. And then you start to realize that people are people. Like that at the end of the day, that people just want to be happy, people want to be comfortable. And those are our common grounds. Like start with the common grounds, we could build off that, and be better. And that's what I ended up developing over time, is that learning that people are people and
Mhm.
sticking with that foundation. And from that, you can accept even things you don't necessarily believe in or agree with. Like you can accept them and realize that that's not a personal attack on you. You're just taking in a person's human.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
once you take in a person's human, it's like, okay, like cool. I know what you eat with spaghetti now.
Mhm.
I may not choose to eat that, but guess what? We're still gonna consume pasta at some point. And that's what it comes down. So it definitely is something that I had to build up, I had to grow with, but I'm thankful for it, especially as I go through with mentoring other people in technology, mentoring my son, my nephews and stuff, because they're at that 13 and 14-year-old age. So it's like, let me show you how to use these powers for good early on.
Well, and
So
yeah, it's what you were saying too, just honing those instincts of
mhm,
what to say and when to say it, right? The
mhm,
timing and everything. I always think like entertainers develop engagement skills so quickly because they're always using that feedback loop, right? And that's what you were doing too. You noticed that this works, and then
Mhm.
and if you got the reaction you were looking for, right, it was like a pat on the back, applause. All of these
Mhm.
things are that feedback loop that tells you you're doing the right things, and then you keep trying them again and again. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, a lot of people out there, they don't have outlets to be able to experiment and to do these
Right.
things, right? And I think every time you're talking with a customer or a prospective customer, you're on stage in a sense,
Mhm.
and you kind of you bring it in that sense. But when I say bring it, it's not like you're putting something on. You're just
Mhm.
being with people.
And that's a good point too about the outlet of it. Like a lot of times it's just because it is a you're being called to the carpet every time. A person I was talking to was talking about doing thinking about getting into sales role. I was like, okay, well, how do you feel about your confidence level? Well, I'm not really confident. I'm like, well, that's something you should try to build up within yourself because someone's gonna hold you and try to discredit you or wonder why you have the credit. So honing your craft, whatever your craft is, gets you the confidence. So one good suggestion I would definitely say for people who are trying to find an outlet to find what works with people, figure out what you're passionate at, and then start talking to people about it. Talk
Mhm.
to talk to your loved ones about it. Talk to random people. Just see if you can hold a conversation with a person that doesn't care anything about what you're passionate about, and make them at least buy into it a little bit because then you got something. Then oh, like you were saying, that reel that you go back to say, oh, when I mentioned this, I got this reaction. And like that. So find your passion. That's the and talk about it.
I think that's such a great idea, is to bridge off of that passion, right? And find out,
Mhm.
because when you're passionate about something, and this is kind of what when we
Yep.
get off talking about this,
Yep.
we just get passionate about talking about it, is that that passion is so infectious, right? That
Mhm.
enthusiasm about whatever context or content it is, people
Mhm.
just can't help but want to listen just because you're so amped up about it. Maybe
Mhm.
there's something in it for them, right? And it totally reminds me of, and I've had him on the podcast, is Sterling,
Yeah.
X-Team. So he loves his motorcycles, right? And
Mhm.
so he's already pretty jacked up about things anyways, right? But enthusiastic, but you get him talking about motorcycles, oh my goodness, right? So
Yep.
if what is that passion of yours? Let's hear you talk about that and see if you can borrow a bit of that feeling to whatever maybe you have to talk about it at work, because that's the juice, right? Like that's what's
It
so
is.
yeah, yeah.
I remember being at college and I had surgery on my jaw, so my jaw's wired shut. So, but they're like, hey, I'm in speech class. So I'm like, okay, Adam, you have to give a speech. And I'm like, oh, I'm just feeling, I don't like this. I I'm uncomfortable, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to talk 5 minutes about something that I really care about a lot, and that is eating. I want to eat a burger so bad. Like, I want Mexican food so bad. And when I got to just speaking about something that, and again, that was just for a temporary moment thing that was on my mind. I am hungry and I would like to talk about that. And it resonated. Like I said, like taking the things you ain't gotta be passionate about it for life. But what makes you passionate for the moment? And like you said, start to translate that into the other things.
Yeah.
Find something in different subjects that you can
Yeah.
be passionate about.
Well, I mean, and the content of that burger that you're talking about is interesting. You're talking about food. I mean, that's a human need. How relatable is a human need? Like, my goodness, right? Like that's
Yep.
pretty universal in that
It-
sense, right?
yep.
Yeah.
And those are the things that you always know. Technology is a good one because there's so many different technological things you can leverage. If you go back to the foundational things of the tech is supposed to make your life easier. You can explain anything. I was explaining. People were talking about. I was in a group and people were talking about AI, and they were talking about all the resources that's indicative of having AI going on. To put it in the context of just saying, hey, you're like you when you look through your eye. how much information is your eye taking in? That's something you already see it. You look like as we look around, your eyes move 12,000 times, like taking in all the information. Imagine what a computer got to do all that. What you do with just looking left and right. Imagine what a computer and they got it
Mm.
because you find those human relatable things. Like you said, eating is a human need. If I know that I gotta fuel the tank, I know, okay, I gotta put gas in my car, otherwise it's not gonna go. And relating those human things to life, and it just things get understandable, things get clearer. It's easy to communicate.
So I'm just thinking about this whole conversation, and I'm kind of like summarizing in my mind, just kind of like, connect on the human level, right?
Hmm.
We're big on that. Bring passion,
Hmm.
right? And maybe even link up to some passion you have and try to
Hmm.
piggyback that into whatever you're talking about. And
Hmm.
and then the other piece was lean into who you are, right? And know yourself. Uh, you know, is there anything else you want to add to that, Adam? Because I see those themes play through, but I just want to give you a chance to. There's something else that you're passionate about communicating about communication.
Um, your special sauce is your special sauce. So don't be afraid to share it. There's something about you that is unique to anybody else. Find it and share it because it's needed and it's necessary. That'll be my last piece of advice that I know it works for me.
Yeah, and you're from St. Louis, right, Adam?
I am.
Yeah, and your barbecue sauces, so special sauce is special
Yeah.
sauce. That's St. Louis style ribs is what came into my
Yeah.
mind when you said that. I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, exactly.
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. Hey, Adam, before I let you go, is if people are interested in reaching out to you, and not to say that you've got this like mentoring coaching program or anything, but I'm just like, perhaps someone might relate to this podcast and just want to connect with you. How would they go about doing that?
Adam Cass on LinkedIn, ADAMCASS on LinkedIn. Shoot me a message. If you got any questions, please shoot me a message. Feel free, it's greatly appreciated. Anders, I thank you for having me. It's always great to see with you. It's always great to talk with you, man. So thank you so much.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate you sharing your experience and your philosophies with us. And I'm sure we'll see you in a trade show booth not too long from now. Um,
Definitely, definitely.
awesome. Well, thank you to all of our listeners as well for tuning in once again. Until next time, you know what to do. Stay engaged. Thank you so much for listening to Engaging Personalities. If you believe this world needs more engagement and you're an industry leader or you have an interesting take on rehumanizing business, go to go.engagify.ai/podcast-guest to apply and come on the show. If you got something out of this interview, do you mind sharing it on your social media? Just grab a quick screenshot with your phone and text it to a friend or post it on the socials. If you know someone that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show. Include the hashtag Engaging Personalities. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episode, go ahead and subscribe. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and mean a lot to me and my team. Want to know more? Go to our website, engagify.ai, or follow me on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening and stay engaged.